Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. So this is part 3 of my spread in Painting the Feminine art journal by Connie Solera. And I am going to try to wrap it up. I honestly didn't think it was going to go into 3 parts, but sometimes things come together fairly easily, and then sometimes I struggle with them. And as usual, I'm going to leave all of my mishaps and everything into the I'm going to leave it on the video. I'm not going to edit it. And that way, I can learn from it and hopefully someone else can learn from it as well. So, the very first thing I am going to do is I need to inject some kind of a different energy onto the page um, because I still feel like this is too much of Connie's work that I have left in. So I just want to change things up a little bit. So I'm going to use this yellow green medium, which is a lime green. And Connie had already used some greens over here and like over here and here. So I'm just going to bring in this lime green here. And I'm going to use my fingers more than the brush because I just kind of want to smush it in. And just inject some new kind of energy into the page. So over here I have my Inktense pencils, and these are by Derwent, and I really love them because unlike the Stabilo, these will dry permanent when like I could wet them and then I could use them. And then when they dry, it will be permanent. So I really love that feature. And the colors are really intense. And it's actually called Inktense. But I think that's kind of a play on the word that the colors are very intense. And I think I'm just going to go with like a blue, or this is a peacock blue. Okay, I'm going to try this out here. And I'm going to wet it. And just make some kind of marks here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make kind of an abstract kind of a face here. So I already have the lips suggested. And so I'm going to use my Stabilo because I might want to erase it. So I think I'm going to just suggest some eyes here. And well, the lips are not placed properly. They're too far up the face. So I'm just gonna like cover it up a little bit here. And I don't want to get too fussy, but I have to place the lips correctly, or I want to place them correctly. So and I'm gonna kind of place the nose here. So I think what I'm going to do for this face is I'm simply going to make some lines and dots, and I'm just not even going to make any kind of facial features. And like, I think I'm just going to make some marks here. And maybe I will make one eye. And this is a good illustration that even though this, kind of face is very, I want to say it's just very abstract, it's very, it's not a realistic rendition of the facial features at all. But when I look at it, it still reads as a face, and it actually conveys a lot of emotion to me. So I just would like to show that, you can draw a face in a very abstract way, and it can be very emotive and interesting and beautiful, and it will still read as a face. Because I think a lot of times we think that we have to draw and paint everything perfectly, or even a rendition that is realistic. And I just want you guys to know that that's not always true, especially in your art journal, because it is a very personal slash emotive, freeform kind of art form. So what I'm going to do here is I just want to bring some interest into the hair. And then I'm going to repeat this pattern in a couple of other places here, just to move the eye around and, give other parts of the page some interest as well. So right off the bat, this is going to be the focal point because she's got all her facial features, and she's bigger, she's larger than the other two figures, and she overlaps into both the pages. So right off the bat, she's the focal point, and these are the supporting, you know, um, images on the page. So I think what I want to do is just mess around with this a little bit. And so I'm not sure if I'm happy with this right here. I'm gonna try to bring some interest here. So I think I'm going to leave it for now because I would say that this is finished. Now, I might come back to it, like, say, a month later, and, look at it and see if I want to change anything, add anything. But for right now, I'm going to just leave it as is. I think I've toned down the painting quite a bit in terms of Connie's stuff, because when I when I started this video and even in my last video, actually right from the very beginning, I thought that, there was too much of Connie's work still showing through, um, because really this here is mostly Connie's work, and some of it here, and this over here, and then I've covered up the rest. I mean, that's Connie's work, and that over there as well. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it alone and call it a day. But I hope this also illustrates that, you know, sometimes I might work on something and I might think, okay, it's done. And then I come back to it a month or 2 months later, or even a year later, and I'm like, oh my God, like, it's totally not done. Like, I can see things much more clearly. I have a fresh perspective. But sometimes I'm going to struggle with things and they're unresolved, like with this particular spread. It doesn't always have a clear cut, okay, it's done and I'm happy with it. I'm happier with it than I was in my last segment, part two, but I'm not sure that it's completely done because I still feel like there is a bit too much of Connie's work still on the page. So I'm just going to leave it alone and I will come back to it at a later date. But for the purposes of this video, this is part three. And I think I'm just going to leave it alone unless I come back to it, 6 months from now and do some, make some radical changes. Then I will post another video of this particular spread. But thank you so much for watching till the end. I hope you've learned something. I hope that this series has illustrated how things are not always a smooth progression, and sometimes, things just take as long as they take, and it's not always an easy path. Sometimes there's a lot of struggle, um, and sometimes that struggle is not really resolved, and I just have to let it be. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.